Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to MST.TV. So I don't know if you guys heard, but yesterday we finally found out about all of the different reprints that are coming in OTS Tournament Pack 13. Now some of them are really exciting, but a lot of them I feel are very questionable. A lot of the cards from this list would have made great reprints if the set came out like half a year, maybe a year earlier, but coming out now in May of 2020, after the most recent ban list, it is not looking too great. It's not looking like an amazing set. That's okay, there are still a couple of really solid picks. So let's jump into it and break down what is possibly the most confusing OTS tournament pack that we have ever seen. Alright guys, so to start things off, let's go over the ultimate rares, and the first one, which I am honestly so happy about, is Abyss Dweller finally receiving an ultimate rare print. I think this is extremely overdue. I know a lot of the community is really excited about this upgrade as well. Abyss Dweller is an absolutely amazing card that was consistently used in the meta the last couple of years. Even if you only had room for like that one rank 4 monster in your extra deck, a lot of the time it was Abyss Dweller because it does have a very useful effect. Now looking at this card, I was afraid that the card's art was too dark to really take advantage of the ultimate rare effect, but having seen the pictures of it now, the way all of like the blue lines really pop is actually really nice, and I couldn't be happier. This is like an A+ pick to me. My one regret is that I know that this is going to be the chase ultimate rare of the set and is probably going to be quite expensive, but that's okay. I'm willing to spend a bit of money for Abyss Dweller. The other news we got is Traptrix Rafflesia, which is one that I wasn't really expecting. Traptrix hasn't really been meta relevant for the last while, ever since Lightning Storm kind of came out, so I don't think it's anything to do with that deck. Rather, I believe it's because of how in Eternity Code, we finally got Gravedigger's Trap Hole and Parallel Exceed, which is a combo that can help different decks to play around cards like Nibiru. I was actually pretty hyped about the Rafflesia combo at first, but they haven't really seen too much competitive success, to be honest. I think that this is going to be a lower end ultimate rare because it does feel a little bit outdated, right? Kind of like when we got the Gram Pulse or Gaia Charger as ultimate rares. I mean, there's definitely a possibility that Rafflesia could be played this format, and that could cause it to be expensive, but if not, if it continues to not see play the way it has been so far, it's gonna be kind of like an average ultimate rare. The last ulti that we already knew about is Book of Moon, which is like an interesting pick. I get it, they wanted to give us a higher rarity Book of Moon, but I feel like this was just so out of place, right? Book of Moon hasn't been meta relevant in years. If you're looking to play max rarity goats, you're probably not going to want to play Ulti Book of Moon, right? You're looking at a Champion Pack Super. I don't know, this one just kind of seemed weird to me when they announced it earlier, just because of how it isn't really meta relevant in the slightest. Alright guys, so on to the super rares, and this is where things seriously kind of get messed up. So guys, today is May 16th, and we got our most recent ban list like 2 months ago. On it, we saw Spiral Master Plan banned, and we still have Quick Fix and Resort limited, though drones did go to 3. Now with those 3 cards being hit, the deck really struggles to function like at all. I mean, it went from being a top tier deck to barely being a rogue deck now. I think I saw like one combo where they tried to do something and it was okay, but it doesn't really seem like that great. However, apparently this didn't stop Konami from deciding to give us effectively 3 different Spiral cards this OTS pack. I don't want to sound like LeBron James here, but not 1, not 2, but basically 3 Spiral cards. Like, I get why they picked these cards, right? Because they were important in Spirals. Drones just went to 3, so I guess you could make an argument that it was an okay choice. Rescue was a really important card in the Spiral combo, but good luck searching it or using it without Master Plan, right? Where Art Thou? I know that technically it isn't a Spiral card, but who's playing it in anything outside of Spirals? Like, are you guys playing Mystic Piper Chaos in the year 2020? Honestly, it all feels pretty silly. I mean, like, the format wasn't even that great. It was just like build a board, right? Kind of degenerate. So no one's gonna go around and look back and be like, hey, let's play Spiral format of all things. Overall, like, I don't know, man, these picks were pretty terrible. I can't help but feel like they were picked in like January, right? If this set were to come out in February or March, then sure, they'd be great. But now, really, these are just not very useful. So another questionable pick here. Remember how we were all kind of excited to see what ABC was finally going to do with the new Master Roll? Remember how we were going to play Union Carrier to throw out like 3 ABC Dragon Busters onto the field? I remember I was actually pretty interested in playing the deck after the Master Rule change, but then apparently it was decided that ABC was just too strong of a deck going into the new Master Rule, so we saw ABC Dragon Buster Limited, which kind of sucked, right? But I guess it's fair. I mean, the ability to put out like 2 Dragon Busters with IP Masquerena and then Link during your opponent's turn seemed kind of broken. So now I guess everyone has like their ABC cores, and they now have 2 extra Dragon Busters because you can only run 1. On top of that, it was available as both an ultra rare in the starter deck and also as a secret rare from the Legendary Collection Kaiba, so there were quite a few of them running around. Apparently, Konami decided to rub some salt in the wounds of ABC players everywhere by reprinting ABC Dragon Buster as a super rare, just to remind all of you that your boss monster is limited. And of course it was a downgrade to super rare, not a rarity bump to an ulti. I don't know, this was just like a really unnecessary reprint. When I first saw it, I didn't even believe it was real, so definitely a really awkward choice. Okay, so another card that was affected by the ban list, although not directly, Bahamut Shark was reprinted as a super rare, and this seems like kind of a good thing, right? Because it was starting to creep up there in terms of price. I know a lot of people thought that Bahamut into Toad under the new Master Rule was pretty broken, but then of course, Totally Awesome was limited, which directly affects Bahamut Shark as well, because Toad is the primary monster that you're going to summon off of Shark. I think that before, people would consider the possibility of playing like multiple Sharks and multiple Toads so that you could put out negates on different turns, and that's a big part of what drove Bahamut Shark's price up. However, now that Toad is limited, it essentially means that you would really only play 1 Bahamut Shark as well, and with that, the price of Bahamut Shark really began to settle down. However, we still received Bahamut Shark as an OTS super rare reprint here, so while it is welcome and helps make the combo a little bit more accessible to players, it definitely wasn't really needed at all. The card did have a gold rare reprint before that was pretty cheap, although admittedly, who wants to play gold rares? Okay, so this is one that I also felt was unnecessary, and that is Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Now, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon was a fairly expensive card maybe like 3 years ago. However, since then it has been reprinted in both Battles of Legend Light's Revenge, as well as Dual Power, and with that, Crystal Wing was at most a $5 card going into this reprint. It's really weird to me then why they felt it was necessary to reprint it here. Also, Crystal Wing isn't even a super popular card right now. I think that as far as level 8 synchros go, most people are going with either Borreload Savage Dragon or Psyframe Lord Omega. I think that the biggest way you bring this card out right now, if you do, is with Ultimaya Zolkin, which for the record was reprinted as a common in this set as well. That has seen a little bit of play in Synchro Eldritch if you're running Quick Draw Synchron as well, and maybe Konami was afraid that Ultimaya would see a bit more play than it has so far, but even then, with Crystal Wing already having multiple reprints, this one was pretty unnecessary. Okay, so getting a bit better I suppose, we have Sea Diva as a super rare. So if you guys weren't aware, there is already a super rare version of Sea Diva available from an old turbo pack, and those copies are really up there in price. They're like $90 each, so please don't mix those up when you're buying or anything like that. It also does have an ultra rare reprint from Dual Power, as well as a common reprint from one of the many water structure decks, so accessibility of this card wasn't really an issue. The big reason it got a holo reprint here is because it just moved from semi-limited to unlimited status on the most recent ban list, and the card is actually quite important in Mermail decks as a way to bring out Neptibus. In a normal OTS pack, I feel like this would be a pretty meh card, but because of how subpar the rest of the reprints are, I think that this is actually going to end up as being one of the better pulls from the set. Okay, so another weird one, and I guess I get it because like I was pretty hyped about this card too. Coming into the new Master Rule, Junk Speeder is a synchro monster that summons like 5 monsters possibly directly from the deck and kind of kicks off like a lot of cool synchro plays in the Synchron deck. It was definitely something that sounded really cool, sounded really interesting, right? But it never turned into anything and never had any competitive impact on the meta after the Master Rule change. However, this card was never expensive, even at its peak, and I don't know why it was chosen to be reprinted as a super rare in this OTS pack. It was one of the tin promos from the 2018 Mega Tins, and with cards from that tin like Saryuja and Borreload Dragon, the tins were opened quite a bit, right? Tins are among the most heavily opened products of the year, so there are definitely a lot of copies of Junk Speeder floating around on the market. I think that at most it was like maybe a $3 card, right? Right after the Master Rule changes were announced, announced and everyone was kind of scrambling and freaking out about what cards they should try to pick up, but it has cooled down since then. Even now you can get them for less than $1 each for the secret rare version. So this is another reprint that took up a really unnecessary holo reprint spot. Alright, 2 other super rares in the set that were confirmed, but these we already knew about because they were talked about in the Konami article from before. So Scrap Golem is pretty solid. It definitely needed a reprint because the rares were sitting at like almost $10 each and they hadn't been reprinted before, though this card is something that you'll just want to run 1 copy of in like the scrap engine of Orchest or something like that. It's something you'll want to grab 1 or 2 copies of, but other than that, nothing to go out of your way for. This reprint is going to tank the price down all the way down to being maybe $1 or $2. The last spot here is the generator token, which is cool. I mean, like, tokens are never really necessary, right? Because you can use whatever token you want. But we should pay attention to them nevertheless, because if we look at like the Sky Striker token or the Mecha Phantom Beast tokens, if the cards that summon them are popular enough, they can be worth a few dollars. And believe it or not, the super rares in this set are so odd and just like they lack so much value that the token is actually going to end up being one of your better pulls outside of the ultimate rares. Alright guys, so if you remember a couple of months ago, I posted a prediction video for OTS Tournament Pack 13 where I went over the cards that I thought should get holo upgrades, and believe it or not, I did not guess a single card correctly. Like literally 0 cards that I thought would be in here were actually included in the set. I'm showing you guys some of the cards that I think should have been included on screen here, but for some reason weren't. I mean, like, I don't know. This was a rough one, guys. I feel like if I saw my picks as the super rare reprints, I would be a lot less disappointed in this set. Hopefully, we will see some of these cards reprinted in like Battles of Legend that we get in a couple of months, because some of these really badly need some holo upgrades. Alright guys, so a quick look here at the commons. On top we have Floodgate Trap Hole, Ixie's Unit, Muddy Mud Dragon, Dimensional Fortress Weapon, Bottomless Trap Hole, Gravity Collapse, and Formula Synchron. And then on the bottom we have the Lady in White, Goyo Defender, Spore, Goblin King, Dimensional Prison, and Ultimaya Tzolk'in. So of all of these cards, there's only a couple that I feel like are really worth noting. Formula Synchron and Ultimaya Tzolk'in are, I guess, welcome reprints. I think Formula Synchron has like half a dozen different printings, and Ultimaya Tzolk'in was also reprinted as a special edition promo, so you should have been able to grab either card for only a couple of dollars even before the reprint. The only other card that I think that's worth noting is Gravity Collapse. I know people tried hyping it up, talking about it as a solemn judgment after the Master Rule shift was announced. It's possibly usable, but I don't think it's seen any meta play at all, and I think it was really just expensive because people were trying to hype it up. Honestly, I was hoping that we'd see something really cool for the commons after seeing what a dud the supers were, but instead we got a reprint of Dimensional Prison in the year 2020. I don't know when the last time that anyone ran Dimensional Prison is, especially when we have cards like Storming Mirror Force or Blazing Mirror Force and stuff like that. I think it hasn't been like 5 or 6 years. If this was like 2011 or 2012, sure, maybe it's a solid choice, but in 2020, I feel like most of these common reprints are pretty useless. Well guys, that covers all of the different cards from OTS Tournament Pack 13. Hopefully there's something in this set for each of you, and at the very least, we finally all got that Ulti Abyss Dweller, so that's something. I guess if anything, it's a good thing that it's coming out at a time where we don't really have too many OTS tournaments or anything, so we can hopefully kind of gloss over this set and hope for something really cool in OTS 14. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy the discussion today, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button for me. It does help out a ton. Also, let me know what you guys' thoughts are on OTS Tournament Pack 13. Do you like it more than I like it? Do you hate it just as much as I do? What cards do you wish they included, and what cards are you looking forward to picking up or pulling from the set? Also guys, if you haven't already, please be sure to hit the subscribe button for all of the latest content from both Tombox and myself here on the channel. And yeah, so until next time guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.